Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Rob Liefeld Day, so we're looking at the next issue of Youngblood. Youngblood number 7, July 1994. This is the second issue of his big kind of touted return to Youngblood after a short hiatus. This cover here, I didn't know back in the day because I didn't really pay attention to this, I guess, but he did... was nice enough, Liefeld, to include the fact that this is an homage cover after Anderson. I assume it's Murphy Anderson. I know the cover. I can kind of see it in my mind's eye of The Thing, right? So, got to tell you, when I originally started collecting Image comics, it took me a while to figure out that Badrock or Bedrock or whatever you want to call them was basically an analog of The Thing, right? It took me a while to realize that. The fact that he's got 3 fingers, really, just like Pitt is the Hulk with no nose, Badrock is basically The Thing with no nose, right? And none of the complicated bits that no one wants to draw, like the Cragley kind of hexagonal and square shapes that he's got all over his body. So Badrock is just kind of a simplified thing. Not much to say about the cover other than that, so let's crack her open, have a look inside. Rob Liefeld, creator, pencil, story. Eric Stevenson, script and editor. Danny, Miki, Jonathan Saballer, inks. And Kiko Takanashi is doing the colors. Kurt Hathaway on lettering. So Eric Stevenson is credited as editor, I guess. Yeah, as he does the script, he probably helps massage the story along. So first thing I'm going to say, I love this sequence with Shaft. This is, probably one of my favorite Youngblood sequences, just because finally we're getting a bit of characterization. I'm not saying it's, the best, but it's, again, those little bits of Youngblood that deliver on the promise of what we originally thought the concept would be are very few and far between. So when I do get one, I like to point it out, and I do enjoy it very much. So this sequence pointing out that basically Shaft is very worried about, his physique and is bulimic, basically. So he eats a lot, but then he barfs it out, right? And his biggest fear is just to eat too much and get really fat here. So nice to see Liefeld channeling something a little bit different, some more kind of humor, I think, in the artwork all around, and I think it works pretty well. So stretching his artistic muscles a little bit here, and I definitely appreciate it, and almost wish he would do more of this kind of stuff. It's almost reminiscent of Blood Wolf, right? Blood Wolf, I know, is kind of, again, basically like a Lobo ripoff, but I do find it's some of my favorite Rob Liefeld artwork. It just feels like he's letting loose and just having fun, and again, doing some stupid and some funny shit too. So this whole sequence is honestly one of my favorite pure Rob Liefeld sequences in Youngblood. So wakes up basically from a nightmare of being super fat. I like the little bit of promotion here, how Shaft is wearing an Extreme Studio shirt. I don't know why we've got a sequence of, no, I do. He's trying to give characterization a bit, and this idea that Youngblood are celebrities. So you've got Bedrock or Badrock going skiing, all right? Kind of a waste of a double page splash, if you ask me. Just a big shot of Badrock skiing. Not something I would spend that much time on, maybe multiple characters, some sort of action sequence. Not that there's no action here. It is, again, Badrock skiing. Just kind of funny, but I guess let's get over the fact that he's kind of rich and famous, right? And kind of hanging around other rich people and doing rich people things is what's going on here. With Rob Liefeld, a lot of times I feel like in this issue, some of the stuff he's doing, I feel like he's got a few different things, stories that he enjoys from either comics or movies and things, and that's where he gets his inspiration for some of these sequences. I feel like almost like he watched that James Bond movie, where James Bond is skiing, and he was like, oh man, that's kind of cool and fun sequence. Or maybe Rob Liefeld went skiing for the first time recently or something, By the time Image is at this point, he's more than likely a millionaire and living the high life. So maybe it's something from his own life that he's actually incorporating into the story. I would hope so. I don't know for sure. I'm just interjecting here. But yeah, again, being stopped by fans, signing autographs. So, he is making an effort. I think maybe this is one of the few issues, or the only issue, where we see a lot of this stuff, and the celebrity side of Youngblood. And again, I think he's trying and to create some characterization. So this is maybe the story-wise the issue I feel where he's trying the most to get that Youngblood concept across. Did I need a shot of Troll, like basically a splash page of Troll in the shower, sudsing up? No, it's an odd choice. Don't know why that's there. Don't know, you know, if he's going to be taking a shot. Like, we could have just seen this shot here and something else. That would have been fine. So, I gotta say, there's just a slight homoerotic kind of vibe to this. I guess he's trolling people, thinks it's funny. I'm not quite sure. And of course, you know, the creepy Youngblood boss is there just waiting for him as he walks out of the shower, basically naked, right? Now, here's another example of, like I said, so Rob Liefeld maybe takes the inspiration from the ski sequence from like a James Bond movie. Here, we're completely in X-Men territory. He even brings back those kind of backgrounds that he was doing in early X-Force, which I wish he would bring back more and use more. I've talked about how these design elements worked really well with his figures, and like I just wish he had done more of it. But yeah, so we're kind of going back to the X-Men mold here. So we've got Gambit, excuse me, I forget his name now. Well, I'm just going to call him Gambit because he's, Night Saber. Yeah, let's call him Gambit. So basically this is just an X-Men Danger Room sequence, training sequence, right? And Rob Liefeld, man, he really likes having his characters train. All throughout his series, characters have some sort of danger room where they can practice. I keep calling it the danger room because it's the X-Men trope, right? They kind of created it, I guess. I know the Avengers in the 70s have training sequences and stuff, but, you know, it's really an X-Men trope, and Night Saber is really just an X-Men called Gambit. I see some Art Adams influence here, like down here, and I'm almost wondering at this time if J. Scott Campbell is around and doing Gen X, so it's almost like full circle where Rob Liefeld back, 5 years back was looking at Art Adams and trying to emulate it, and then kind of morphed back into a style, and then saw J. Scott Campbell and started drawing like J. Scott Campbell, who's kind of drawn like Art Adams. Maybe that's all just in my head, but yeah, that's what I see with this shot here. It's kind of an interesting position for Shaft to be in as Night Saber rushes towards him. I'm just going to leave it at that. So we're back to the skiing sequence. And like, I mean, do we need to spend so many pages, on Badrock skiing? You know, he is moving towards something, of course. It's going to be an action sequence. Did this, upside down close-up of Badrock need to be this big? And basically the whole page, basically a splash? Don't think so. But boom, the reveal, overt kill. So the battle of the two licensing disagreement characters or copyright protection characters. I don't know what you'd call that. What I'm getting at is that both Badrock and Overkill had better names originally. Bedrock and Overkill, right? But for trademark copyright purposes, their names were changed to much lamer versions of their names. I don't know about Bedrock, but specifically Overkill, who was originally Overkill, was created just on screen in those classic comic book artist videos from the early 90s. And if you watch those videos, literally they did that weekend that Image was officially kind of formed, right? So everything was kind of happening behind the scenes of those videos, and they created Overkill just as a fun thing on screen with Stan Lee watching over them, both Rob Liefeld and Tom McFarlane. And at the time when they came up with the name, I guess they just didn't have the time or hadn't taken the time to look up, right, as it was created on the spot, if Overkill was used. So that's why eventually it was changed to Overkill to avoid any kind of licensing disagreements. So Overkill attacks Badrock. Badrock retaliates once again with a completely not needed double page splash. Really an easy way to get through 2 pages, right? That's all I'll say about that. And okay, well, it's a Rob Liefeld comic, so we're gonna have to stay vertical. And we basically just got a whole sequence of Bedrock punching the crap out of Overkill. Back to horizontal. I mean, listen, not much to say artistically about these. I've talked about how Rob Liefeld's art looks a little bit slicker, maybe a little more West Coast in its inking and application. By that I mean like a bit more like a Scott Williams kind of look, a Wildstorm kind of look, for lack of a better term. And it's a typical Rob Liefeld action sequence. Lots of big open mouths, gritted teeth. And there's just something I wanted to say in relation to these last pages. Sometimes he decides things, and I don't know if it's on the spot, but like I feel like he drew Badrock at this kind of above, angle looking down, and the brow kind of touches the top of the lip there, right? Or is close to it, because he doesn't do it before, right? I went back and looked. It's pretty close here. It's pretty close here. It's pretty much sitting on the lip there. Oh, he's doing a little bit of there. So I think he's kind of, decided along the way, once the brow touches the bottom lip there, that, oh, that might be interesting. So now he just literally starts drawing Badrock as if the brow, doesn't, it's this idea that Rob Liefeld, like I said, keeps changing, evolving, or whatever, things as they move along. Now the brow just is connected to the top lip specifically, and is just no more room for a nose at all. If we go back to the cover and when I talked about him not having a nose. So I don't know if this is something that's going to stick for the next few issues, but I feel like at least for this page and the next, it's an artistic thing he's kind of come up with where he's like, oh yeah, man, from now on I'm going to attach the brow to the, top lip. It looks really cool and like he's angry, and it just completely replaces the space where people are like, he's got no nose. I don't know if that was the reasoning, but that's what I feel. First ever Texas appearance, Rob Liefeld, Dan Fraga. That's pretty cool. The only reason I was pointing it out because I think this drawing here by Dan Fraga is pretty cool, and it's at a point where Dan Fraga is starting to move out of the shadow of Rob Liefeld and trying to draw exactly like Rob Liefeld. Rather than being a Rob Liefeld clone, he's kind of moving into his own style, which I thought got pretty good at a certain point. And of course, boom, another double page splash. Dear Lord, Rob. And again, the brow attached to the top lip. Obviously, Badrock is really super angry to the point where the veins are on his arms, but also on his crotch. His crotch just got all veiny. Don't know what's going on there. That's an interesting choice. And this really pissed me off when I got to the end of this, because the action doesn't stop here. Well, no, I guess it continues in next issue of Youngblood, right? Youngblood 8. The slugfest continues in Team Youngblood number 11. Oh, man, so I get it. Like, the fact that Rob Liefeld was having this jump between titles completely pissed me off. And back then, that's one of the reasons I stopped collecting, right? A lot of the extreme stuff. Right after when, I remember Youngblood number 4 continued in, I think it was still called Youngblood number 5, or it was the flip book of like Brigade. Very complicated, and it was drawn by someone else, and that's the point where I kind of dropped out of Youngblood. And when Rob Liefeld came back originally for this issue and the one before, so 6, 7, and moving on, I was not there originally. And this is one of the reasons why. Then join us back here in 1 month as Shaft leads his team into their baptism of fire. More action, more fun, more bravo. Miss it at your own risk. And then we get kind of an off-model shot of Overkill here, which is because I was looking at it, it's like, who is this? And then, once I recognized the accoutrements, les accoutrements, I was like, okay, that's Overkill. I hate saying his name like that. Overkill. But like just the skin in your face all of a sudden, just off-model. And I gotta say, I think I'm going to take the time to just really quickly look at how many double-page splashes are in this issue, because it's kind of amazing. Yesterday I reviewed the Dale Keown Pit issue, and it's like a lot of these artists, these image guys, were doing the same thing. It's like, hey, let's do some double page splashes with no backgrounds to just get through a few pages and deadlines. So how many pages here? We've got 3, 5, 7, so that's 1, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, that's 2, 23, 25, 26, 27, so 28 pages he's given us. 3 double page splashes. I guess, you're still getting 22 pages of just about regular storytelling, so maybe I shouldn't complain. I should see it as a bonus. Oh wow, look at there. Didn't even know there was an epilogue. So what is this exactly? It's just the city and Chapel, charging up his guns. Let's read it. Washington, D.C., the apartment home of Special Agent Bruce Stinson, otherwise known as Chapel. Is that the apartment where he bedded that lady in Youngblood #1? I gotta assume it is. I ain't gonna take this no more. My pays... wow. My days of playing the patsy for this godforsaken government are over. I'll be damned if I'll be shepherd to those Bloodstrike zombies anymore. Check out Bloodstrike 7 to 10 for the full scoop. So again, I've got to go read these Bloodstrike comics I don't want to read to understand where Chapel is at this point. And I'll be damned if I'm letting Jason Wynn keep calling the shots on my life. Lying sack of trash. Time you learned, Wynn. I ain't your boy no more. Yeah, I've taken about all the crap I'm willing to take. And this is like typical 80s, 90s tough guy talk, right? I think it's time I exercised some of my world-famous generosity and started to give a little. Starting with my good buddy, Al Simmons. All right, so I guess this is foreshadowing Chapel and Spawn Round 2. I've already done a review of Youngblood #10. Not quite sure what happens in between there. I don't have those issues, but I know it leads to, again, the confrontation between Chapel and Spawn. And look at that issue 10 review, because it's got one of the most shocking panels at the end of it. So go in the archives and look for that. And I guess that is all for this review of Youngblood #7. So everyone out there who's still watching and still subscribed, thank you so much for the loyalty. I really appreciate it. Those who are watching but who are not subscribed, please do so below. It really helps out the channel, helps us grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comics just like we are. So everyone out there, thanks again for watching and have yourselves an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe!